I'm John Strohmeyer, and this is the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. The market for legal services is shifting, and lawyers who don't adapt will be left behind. This podcast gives you a competitive edge in today's market by sharing the client service lessons you probably didn't learn in law school or in law practice. Let's start the show. Welcome back to the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. This week we're talking with Talitha Kozlowski. She's a partner with Garman Turner Gordon and focuses on bankruptcy law. But she's also a co-founder of LAWCLERK. Because of her work with LAWCLERK, I invited her on to discuss how attorneys can focus on their highest and best use. While some of the tasks we do may be fun, they may not be the tasks that we should be focusing on so that we can deliver the best for our clients. Let's get to the interview. Hey 5-Star listeners, before we start, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a virtual receptionist service for small businesses with a specialty in working with solo and small law firms. I signed up with them within weeks of starting my firm because they are affordable for even the smallest solo practice. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in Spanish or English, screen and schedule new leads, and can even take payments. And now they're answering calls 24 hours a day. So even when you're asleep, they're still working. Even beyond the phone, they've got live agents and chatbots ready to capture leads on your website, by text, and by Facebook Messenger. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front line so you can work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $70 a month for calls and $100 a month for chats. Smith AI is offering a free trial, and our podcast listeners get an extra $100 discount code with promo code 5-STAR. That's FIVESTAR. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. Hey, Talitha, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So we obviously are always focused on client service, and that to me is always about how we make it easy for employees, owners, and clients to have the clients receive our technical product, how we can deliver it in an easy way for a way that works for everybody. And we're going to be talking about making sure that we as not only owners, but employees inside the firm are focused on our highest and best use, but also our employees' highest and best use. And it's a really neat concept because, we can get drugged down into all sorts of things that we shouldn't be doing, but we continue to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the biggest challenges for business owners, for law firm owners, is it's so overwhelming, right? There are 1 million things you can be doing on any given day. And there are also the things we like to do and the things we don't like to do. And it's really important to step back and really think about what is the highest and best use of your time. And I think it's important when we're thinking about that to think about it from both the business perspective and the perspective of your clients. So, as we're trying to grow our firms, as we're trying to whether, have the optimal client or have the optimal volume of clients or whatever sort of your objective is, really stepping back and thinking about, what steps, what are the things you need to be doing to get there that only you can do. And to me, that's really the critical component, right? What are the things that only you can do when you're thinking about growing your firm and growing your business? And the same is true when you're thinking about your relationship with your clients. Like, what are the tasks that only you can do? Certainly not answering the phone, right? Like, you're not the only person who can be answering the phone. And, when we're thinking about our practices, what is critical to maintaining and building that client relationship? So, for me, I do corporate bankruptcy work, have done that for about 16 years. And for me, what's critical to building my business, what's critical to my relationship with my clients is that conversation where I take on their huge problem, right? That is where that burden gets placed on me and they feel that sense of relief. Figuring out the strategy, like how are we going to manage this case? How are we going to navigate it? How are we going to find an exit strategy to allow them to reorganize? And then handling things like court and trial and depositions and being there with them through those. Those are sort of the things that are critical to both growing my business, but also critical to my relationship with my clients. And I think it's super important that we step back and kind of think about what are those things only you can do in both of those categories.
Right. And I'm going to take the moment to go off on my own little soapbox on, you met the three things you mentioned are all uniquely lawyer focused tasks
Mhm.
in a law firm. The maintaining and building that relationship, strategizing, and then the truly lawyers only tasks of depots, court, trial, whatever,
Mhm.
whatever you litigators do, then I don't want to learn how to do. But that's the important part. What you didn't say was filling in forms, drafting original petitions, doing a lot of the things that are important for us as lawyers to do. But at a certain point, yes, of course, you're going to be doing review of documents, but you're not starting that process. You're focusing on what you as the expert are delivering. And it's something that David C. Baker gets into a lot of, we're hired for the expert role. That's why you pay the lawyers. You're not paying us to dig the ditch. You're paying for us to know which ditch to dig, which brief to file, which motion to file, and when. It's that strategy component as part of it. That is our technical service delivery. The client relationship, it's not unimportant, but that's not a lawyer skill. It's in every business. There's going to be that development of the relationship. And then, your specific skills from having done this for a while. You can't get a first year to come in and do a deposition for anybody. You wouldn't want to. So focusing on the places where you're delivering those values and really acting as your own expert.
Absolutely. I love your examples. They're fantastic. And sort of the next step in that though is once you figure out kind of what those things are you should be doing, the next step is sort of delegating the rest. I do want to add, I guess, one thing that was really hard for me to learn and sort of figuring out what my highest and best use is it's not always like what we're really great at, right? Like one of my best skills was I'm a really good writer, or at least I used to be a really good writer, but that's not one of the core skills to making sure that I have that critical client relationship. That's not the skill that gets me engaged. That's not the skill that ultimately helps me grow my practice. And so, it's not simply thinking about, what are we good at? It's thinking about what are those skills that we need to do. And I think you highlighted that so nicely in really bringing that home.
Right. It's a balancing act. The things that are the highest and best use for me and my firm, for you and your firm, I was talking to Ryan McKean, who previous guest on this podcast earlier this morning, like he does PI litigation. It's going to be slightly different for all of us.
Mhm.
The maintaining the client relationship is going to be important for some of the owners, but not always all of us. And so it's figuring out, I think kind of piecing back what you said, it's not just the things that we think that are fun for us to do, but also the things that benefit from us doing them. And so the writing, even though you were really good at it, you're going to deliver better value elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That really was, I sort of grew up through a big firm and then we left and opened a little regional firm, which is fantastic, by the way. Love small law so much better than big law. But what really was the critical moment, defining moment in my growth trajectory was stepping back and saying, hey, I'm looking around and everybody who's really doing well and building, their own sustainable practice were the people who focused on whatever those critical skills were and then delegated everything else, right? And I sort of had this epiphany moment where it was like, okay, I got to stop doing the writing. I have to stop doing sort of all of this Westlaw research and sort of the mundane paperwork that is inherent, no matter what your practice is, but wasn't critical to the growth trajectory. I don't know if you had a similar moment like that, but it was definitely a aha moment for me.
Right. I'll kind of frame it out as what I always think about when I'm working with people, with my staff is I don't necessarily need them to get the perfect answer. Now, of course, I want the perfect answer before something goes out. We're just ingrained that the perfect is the enemy of the good. That's not the point here. But I need them. The model is they need to get it as good as they can get it and recognize they're probably only going to get it 80% of the way there. That's fine. I don't expect you to have the years of experience doing this that I've had. But if you can get it 80% of the way there, I only have to take it that last 20%. I'm not trying to get it from blank sheet all the way to the end. I can focus on the parts where it really benefits from me being involved. So if I get, the application for probate and all I'm checking is here, things are in the right place. We're not missing anything obvious. I don't have to burn my time on the drafting where I will have seen it 15 times just trying to get the names right and the basic information. So no, definitely it's fun for me to write. It's fun for me to style things in Word, but that's not the best point. I need to set it up so it's easy for them to deliver something to me, so it's easy for me to get rid of it.
No, absolutely. And that's just the part of I think what dovetails with highest and best use is that delegation component, right? So if it's not your highest and best use, it's not what you should be doing to give your clients the optimal service, you need to be delegating. So whether it's paralegals or associates or virtual associates or, any other admin help, which can, be critical in a law firm, is making sure that you're delegating the rest of it. So like you said, you're spending an hour to push something across the finish line instead of 8 hours, because, inherent in that 8 hours, if you're spending 8 hours drafting something, you're not spending that 8 hours for me handling, doing client strategy work. And so, it really, not delegating is almost a disservice to growing your firm.
Right. One of the things I always go back to is on delegation. Yes, the person you're giving it to will take longer than you. They're not going to be as perfect as you on it. But the magical thing is, if you give them the same basic project several times, they will get better at it, and they'll get much better at it by the fact that you're giving them different looks at the same thing. I've got legal interns who work for me. We give them executed wills and the ancillary documents. And we say, here, we want you going through these. And I know the first time you're going to go through these, one set will take you 2 or 3 hours. The second set will take you about 2. The third set, you'll be down to an hour and a half. And eventually you'll get to where you can zip through most of it in half an hour. And that's the point. The delegation is a headache on the front end for you, the manager, but you're building the skill in them to get that work done.
No, absolutely. So, in addition to being a practicing attorney, I'm also one of the co-founders of LAWCLERK. And, that sort of is the mission, which is delegate, get it 80% of the way there, whatever that sort of written product is, or that crazy research product, or whatever it is, whatever that time consuming task is, have some other attorney. If you don't have your own staff, have some other attorney on a project basis, get that work done, get it 80%. You spend the hour or 2 hours, getting it finalized, and you're accomplishing exactly what you're referencing there, John. And it really is critical to, I think, growth.
Right, because when you're starting off small, you don't have the budget for a full-time anything. Learning when and how you can get things off your plate and know, well, it'll cost me this much time to figure something out. I was surprised to hear you say that you remembered my LAWCLERK project, but I had an issue where one of my clients needed to know what the regulations were for Texas youth camps. And I had no idea where to start, and I don't need to be an expert in that. I will probably never deal with that issue again, but that's an expertise that somebody else has, and being able to go and trade a pile of my dollars for a pile of their knowledge so that the project would get done for a client instead of it taking 10 hours for me to get up to speed on it. I was able to get the one phone call with somebody who knew what they were doing, and it allowed me to focus on other clients and, ultimately take better care of all of my clients because I got real expertise for the client who needed it and other more valuable of my time for the other clients.
I love that. That is, just absolutely sort of the objective we have at LAWCLERK. Oh my gosh, I use it for everything from sort of my super complicated briefs that would take me, 10, 15, 20 hours to draft to, the crazy, I don't know, maybe I think all lawyers get these, right? You have the sister of your brother-in-law who has this crazy issue, and they're like, can you just look at this? And, you're constantly like, hey, I don't know anything about divorce proceedings in China, but let me see if I can find somebody to help with that really quick.
Right. Because my clients are always asking me the questions of everything under the sun. What do we need to know about this? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be licensed in precisely one state for the foreseeable future, and I don't want to get any other licenses. One is enough. But being able to access that and figure out where to get the right people at the right time without overcharging the clients.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Both the overcharging and then, to your point, saving yourself the time. So again, you're back to being focused on what's the highest and best use for your clients. Because while your client wants the answer to, that sort of off the wall question that's going to take you forever to figure out, that's, spending a huge amount of time on that is a disservice to your client. So getting somebody else to do that so you can be back focused on, handling the high level matters is really important to serving your clients in the best absolute capacity.
Right. I mean, you had mentioned this earlier of, it's not just the things we think are fun or that we're best at, but it's where we're delivering our best value so that everybody gets it. Or, everybody gets what they need out of it. We're not getting mired down. Clients are getting things moved forward.
Absolutely.
So on your progression to figuring out how to do this, what have been some of the roadblocks that you've run into? Like, was there any particular, like the last time you had to learn that lesson before you really got it?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I feel like I'm learning it all the time, honestly. There's constantly those moments of like, sort of spinning my wheels on something and then realizing, what am I doing? Like, this is absolutely silly. I should never be researching on Westlaw. Like, that skill is gone. It is gone. Like, I had it one time. I was excellent, gone. And I had spent like 2 hours looking for something. And I'm like, oh my God, on a Saturday, right? So my husband's annoyed. It's Saturday. I'm annoyed. Like, and I'm getting nowhere. And finally, I just was like, why am I not? And I posted on LAWCLERK. And 2 hours later, somebody gave me this lovely little memo. And I was like, yep, that was way better decision. Like, I'm the co-founder. How am I messing this up?
Right. I mean, it's easy for things like outsourcing IT, which actually for me was hard at first. I mean, when it was just me in the office, I had no other choice. I had to be sole IT, but I didn't need anybody else. Eventually, I got to the point where I had enough people working for me. While I could get most of it done, it's a better use of my time to just pay the outsourced consultants who are there all the time to take care of it, because I need to focus on other things. I certainly am not the highest and best provider of that. And it yields the benefits of, I got up super early Monday morning this week, and I wandered into my home office because I could see the monitors were on at 6 a.m. Sure enough, there were the IT folks rebuilding my Outlook because it's been slow for a while. And while they were on it for 2 hours, they were on it for 2 hours. I got to focus on other things for 2 hours and still get the work, get other work done. It kept me out of email for 2 hours, which is always its own benefit. But yeah, I mean, it's just always looking for how and why are we doing these things? How can we find a better way to hand it off?
Oh, that's absolutely true. And across, I think, sometimes we're so busy, we stop to really think about, what tools and resources are out there these days. But I mean, my gosh, like anything you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, there is somebody who could be doing it better, faster, and cheaper. Whether you're simply going to like an Upwork and finding somebody, or getting a referral from someone else, or looking for new technology that's out there. There is unequivocally a solution for everything we shouldn't be doing that, ultimately better serves our lives once we just commit to making that change.
Right. And that part of the holdup, I think, is always, well, if I hold on to this project because I'm billing hourly, there's a greater result for the firm generally. That's not always the best answer, because even if you can do it, if we take the dollars out of it for a second, I can think back to one specific project I was working on at a prior firm where I was talking to the partner and he mentioned, well, I need to find this provision in the agreement. It's like, just give me that agreement. I can probably do it faster than you because I have it in Word, and I can just do a, Control F and find it. I'm not going to read the provision. I'm not going to read the agreement top to bottom. So even having me go look at it, it gets back to the delegation, getting back to get it to the right person. You're going to get those other unanticipated benefits. You're going to train me to do it faster, because even if I get it wrong and come back and say, here's this provision, and it took, all you have to do is say, no, look at it here. You're still getting the benefit of, I've done it once, and now that I've banged my head on the wall on that, I can at least know what to look for next time.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, the training is a huge element. the time savings is just a huge element. Like our value as lawyers is our time. And, there's only so many hours in the day. And whether you want to work 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, at some point, hopefully you want to sleep and eat and, see the outdoors and breathe some fresh air. And so, the only way to sort of elevate our practice and to grow our client base is to bring in other people, is to delegate. Otherwise, you simply cap. There's only, whether you're flat fee, whether you're hourly, there's just so many hours in the day. And so, that delegation is just critical to growing your client base and growing revenue.
Right. But it's focusing in on the areas where you're best.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that once you can start drawing circles around that, it's easier to see what's outside of those circles. And, if it's not today, how can we get those things out to somebody else tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would recommend to anybody listening to this, we have a really great delegation worksheet, which I'm not gonna lie, I do it periodically just to simply help refocus myself, particularly bouncing between two jobs. And so it's on lawclerk.legal in the attorney resources, but it's a delegation. It's like a 3-page delegation worksheet. Highly recommend using it if you're sort of struggling with what should I be doing, what shouldn't I be doing. And sometimes just putting pen to paper, helps us all go, ooh, I really spent 8 hours doing that last week. What was I doing?
Right.
So highly recommend just doing the worksheet.
Excellent. No, we will make sure and have a link to that in the show notes. Talitha, this is a little faster than normal, but I think we really got to the end of where we should be. And I'm going to yield back everybody's time for the extra 8 minutes. But if people are looking for more about you and LawClerk, where can they go?
LAWCLERK.legal. So not .com, .legal. And we have the websites there. And then I can always be reached at tgray, Gray, at LAWCLERK.legal. Always happy to chat too if anybody wants to reach out by email.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Talitha.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcounsel.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcounsel.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.